Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Craig Cannings here from VAClassroom.com, and I'm excited to bring you this event today on building a profitable Infusionsoft service. We had a ton of people sign up for this event. I know that it has been a buzzworthy topic in our community for a long time, and I know many of you are even using it with clients or considering using it with clients. So you are definitely in the right place if you are all interested in Infusionsoft today, because I have probably one of the best guests that I could bring on regarding the topic of Infusionsoft. And I want to, just before I introduce Kim, if you're new to using GoToWebinar, you can interact with us in a couple different ways. So the first way is you can just post a question or a comment in the comment box, and I'll be moderating throughout our time, and we'll definitely have some Q&A throughout, and definitely at the end of our time as well. But also, if you're very brave today and bold, which I hope you are, you could just hit the hand button and put your hand up, and we'd love to talk to you live as well. There's no pressure on that, but I wanted to give you a couple different ways that you can interact with us. So again, our topic is Infusionsoft. As best as you can, try to remove some of the distractions, maybe put your phone on vibrate, shut down your Skype, and really focus in on a topic that could have a profound impact on your business. It may be already, but it's a huge opportunity right now to develop the right kind of Infusionsoft skills to support so many clients that really need your help. They really need a lot of help when it comes to developing all that they're doing in Infusionsoft. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our esteemed guest for today. I want to introduce you to Kim Snyder, who I've had the opportunity to get to know over the last little while, and she has one of the best minds when it comes to Infusionsoft. In fact, her company, the API guys, were considered the most helpful partner by Infusionsoft in 2014, and she's had, I won't go into all her bio, but she's had a lot of success in business. She's started no less than 9 companies. She's built very successful businesses, and at its peak, she had a consulting company, Snyder Advisors, that managed and consulted on $500 million worth using a proprietary investment method. So she knows business, but she had retired in 2011 to South Carolina with her family and her dogs, and she'd built a polo farm, which I'd be interested to hear about at some point, and had planned to kind of just, that was going to be their life, and that was where she was going to retire. And then she stumbled onto Infusionsoft, and it got her really excited about this tool, and she quickly positioned herself as an expert and an expert trainer, and has gone on to develop great courses and has become a great Infusionsoft partner as well. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Kim to you. Hey, Kim, welcome to our time today.
Thank you so much, Craig. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here and talking with your tribe.
Excellent. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started, Kim? And again, if you have questions or if you have any tech issues or anything, I'm going to be here to support you, and Kim's going to take the lead on all the great content she's going to share today.
Yep.
Thanks, Kim.
All right, here we go. So, all right, well, let's start this way. Why don't we start out by framing the problem that I'm going to be addressing for the next hour or so. And the problem, I think, is this. So as a virtual assistant, I think probably in any business, but as a virtual assistant, you want to earn more money without working more hours, right? Isn't that what we all want? But here's the problem that's specific to you. Number one, the VA market is very crowded. The barrier to entries are low and getting lower. Overseas VAs are driving the hourly rates down, which, by the way, I could argue is not a bad thing. That's market capitalism at work. But it is a fact of life that this industry is under a lot of margin pressure, and everyone is fighting over the same piece of pie. So the question that as a business owner you have to be asking yourself is, how can I solve that problem? Well, there's a couple of ways that you can do that, right? One of those ways, as most of you are probably familiar with, is to leverage the work of a team, okay? And the second way is to earn more for the work that you do. Now, I can't help you with the leveraging the work of a team part, at least not today, but I can help you with the latter, which is earning more for the work you do. And I think a great answer to solving or fixing that piece is Infusionsoft. Obviously, I'm biased. I have personally pinned my fortunes on Infusionsoft. I have a hold of Infusionsoft's coattails as tightly as I can possibly hang on, and I am along for the ride. I freely admit that and that bias. But I think you should take that as a vote of confidence for Infusionsoft and the potential that it may have for your business. Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, what is Infusionsoft? Because I know we have a very wide spectrum of people on this call in terms of their familiarity with what Infusionsoft is. Some of you are very advanced users of Infusionsoft. I'm looking through the names that I see here, and I recognize many of you. And I know from surveys that some of you have never been in the app. You've obviously heard of it, or you wouldn't be here today. So we have a really wide spectrum. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page just to get started. So Infusionsoft itself likes to call itself an all-in-one small business software. They have very clearly carved out a piece of the market, a very what was thought to be a not the best piece of the market actually, but has become very hot. That's small business, right? So they were very much a trendsetter in that. Their customers are small business, and they try to give a small business owner an all-in-one suite that does four things. The first one is CRM, or customer relationship management. So that piece of Infusionsoft competes with things like Zoho and Salesforce and some other CRMs like that. They have a email platform. So that piece, right, is takes the place of things like obviously MailChimp or custom contact, things like that. They have an e-commerce platform built into the software. So if someone is using a third-party shopping cart or platform like WooCommerce on WordPress or what have you, that whole e-commerce piece can come in to Infusionsoft as well. And then for me, those are great and they're important, and it really does solve a problem for their clients, which is multi-system chaos and all of these, having all of these disparate systems that don't talk to one another and all of that. But really, to me, the killer app part of Infusionsoft, and the part that got me absolutely so excited and continues to excite me to this day, is this fourth piece. And that is what we refer to as marketing automation. Now, it's become a little bit of a misnomer now, but marketing automation. What is marketing automation? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It is the next big thing. And here's what I mean by that. So, in the beginning, right? Well, in the beginning of many of our work lives, I'm pretty old. I don't know about y'all, but, I vividly remember being taught how to use a fax machine at one of my early jobs. Okay, that's how old I am. And then, the internet came along. I remember my father asking, "Do you really think this internet thing is going to change anything?" And then, first we all had to figure out email, right? And of course, now my 93-year-old grandmother has email. And then the question was, do I really have to have a website? And now websites are table stakes. And then the next big thing became cloud computing and cloud apps. And then the next thing after that was APIs to make these cloud apps talk to one another. But now the really big thing, and I think which is fulfilling the promise of all of those things that came before it, is this idea of marketing automation. So what is marketing automation? Well, the way that I would define it is that it is a combination of software and tactics that basically allow companies to kind of buy and sell like Amazon. And what that means is to be able to nurture prospects with highly personalized, targeted, relevant, useful content that helps convert those prospects to customers and help move those customers to delighted customers on the back end. And the use of marketing automation, here's the key thing from a business owner standpoint, is that it makes processes that would have otherwise been performed manually, it makes them much more efficient because now they can be automated, and those people who are doing those processes can now be freed up to do higher value work. It also makes new processes possible that weren't being done before. So really, where automation before was strictly the purview of really big companies, now a solopreneur can automate in the same way that Amazon can. And that is the power and promise of automation. Now, we still use the term marketing automation, and I told you it's become a little bit of a misnomer, and that's because that's where it started with marketing funnels and marketing campaigns. However, really, I think we're all starting to see that the potential is much bigger, as that term, although we still call it marketing automation, now really encompasses end-to-end business process automation. And when I say that it's the next big thing, I really do mean it. That's where all of the investments are coming from. And people are getting really excited. You're seeing IPOs in this space, which is that's an investment term for a public offering. A lot of these companies are raising loads of money and they're all going public, and that's because the smart money are all making a big bet on marketing automation. And my point for you today is that you should too. I did. That's what brought me out of retirement and got me back in the game is the promise. So what I would suggest to you is that this wave is in its very early stages, and if you are not paddling now to catch that wave, you're going to be too late, because your competitors who are paddling are going to ride it and they're going to leave you behind. So let's talk a little bit more about Infusionsoft again at a high level. So if you go to Infusionsoft's website and you look, they themselves will say Infusionsoft grows sales, saves time, and gets you organized. Okay, so that's what it can do for your clients. But, that's great, but I want to know, what's it going to do for me? So let's talk about, what will it do for you? Well, here's what I think it does for you. First of all, it helps you stop competing for that same piece of pie. I mentioned when I first started out that there is both a high barrier to entry in this market for true experts. It is not, and any of you who work in the social media space or the digital marketing space, please do not take this as a disparaging comment, because I certainly don't mean it that way. However, in this day and age, anyone can go to YouTube or, search Google and figure out how to do their own social media or digital marketing if they are really so inclined. The barrier to entry there is really, really low. But with Infusionsoft, that barrier to entry is really, really high. And the other thing that's happening is Infusionsoft is growing by leaps and bounds. They are currently at 30,000 customers, 100,000 users. They expect to be at 500,000 customers by 2030. And as I mentioned, big money investment firms like Goldman Sachs, which probably doesn't mean that much to you, but means a lot to me, having been in the investment space, have put over $100 million into Infusionsoft as a bet on that future, right? So because they are growing so fast and they are so highly funded and therefore able to add new customers at a major clip, what does that mean to you? High barrier to entry means there are not very many people who are able to service those customers. And there is a huge pent up demand because all of those customers which are being added every single day need someone to help them with this app. And we'll get to why that is here in just a moment. So that's one thing. Stop competing for that same old tired piece of pie, and let's look at a different piece of pie. The second thing is it helps you earn more money in less time, which is that was sort of the problem that I started out with to begin with. How is that the case? Well, because high demand means higher fees. It is a seller's market because there are more people wanting Infusionsoft services than there are people to provide it. And that's a seller's market. That means higher fees. It also gives you the opportunity, if you choose to move upstream to more of a consulting role, because at this point, it is not a commodity service. People need that higher level of consulting. And so for the person which gives you the opportunity to move even further up that totem pole of fees, if you want to. Not everybody wants that, but the opportunity is certainly there. And the third thing it does is it offers you multiple streams of income from one product or service, because not only can you do service a client and take care of their Infusionsoft app for them, but the other opportunities are around affiliate and partner revenue opportunities. So, for example, Infusionsoft will pay you $500 an app for every app that you refer to them. So, if you refer a client who is a small business who you look at their business and you say, you know what, I think that Infusionsoft would be a great fit for you. Not only are you doing a service for the client by putting them in the right software, two, you get the business once they're in that software, and three, Infusionsoft pays you a $500 affiliate commission on that. Or if you choose to become a partner, then they pay you an ongoing commission for the lifetime of each app that you are responsible for. So there are some other opportunities as well, but it's really just a wide open space right now for people to find their niche and figure out how or where they're going to make money in that ecosystem, which is another point I should make too while I'm here, and that is I have had multiple conversations with Infusionsoft folks who are responsible for partners in marketplace and that ecosystem, and they are heavily committed to and spending a ton of money on building that ecosystem, which is good for us, good for those of us who want to use Infusionsoft as a major peg in our business. They have come to the realization that they should be in the business of building great software, and that they should leave everything else around that software to their ecosystem and partners, which is really good news for me and for you as well. So for all of those reasons, you know, I think you've got to look at Infusionsoft if you want to up-level your business, make more money, scale up without having to do a lot more work. Now, that being said, okay, one of the knocks on Infusionsoft that I'm quite sure you have heard and or maybe potentially experienced is people call it Confusionsoft. Everyone talks about the fact that it is hard to learn, that it's not well laid out, that it's awkward, that there's a big learning curve. And all those things are true, which, as Martha Stewart would say, that's a good thing. That's a great thing. That's the thing that should make you so excited. You know what they say, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Well, it's not easy. And that is what is keeping this from being a commodity market where we are experiencing price pressure. We are experiencing the opposite. Like every few months, the prices that we can charge go up, not down. And that's because, again, there is more demand than there are people to fulfill on that demand, and that a lot of that is because of this, the fact that there's a lot to it. And that's what I tell clients when when they start saying, well, I hate this software, it's so hard to use, and I say, well, you know what, look, that is true, but here's the thing. The the reason MailChimp it is simple is because it does one thing. It does it well, but it does one thing. The thing is, the power of Infusionsoft is immense. And that's why it is so complicated. I mean, you can't expect that kind of power and potential from something to just be that easy. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. So it's a little bit of a good news, bad news joke. Yep, it is hard, but that's because it can do so much. So whether you, Mr. Client, take the time to learn it yourself, which is probably not a great use of your time, you really should be more focusing on whatever it is that you're in business to do, being a dentist or a realtor or a flower shop owner, whatever it is, and let someone else who has that expertise take care of your Infusionsoft app for you. So that Infusionsoft does two things. Number one, it keeps the supply of experts fairly constrained, because not everybody is willing to do it. And number two, it keeps the demand from Infusionsoft users high, because the number of do-it-yourselfers is just lower than with other software, because they can't figure it out on their own. They don't have the time to figure it out on their own. They don't have, even if you know how to do it, doing it is time consuming, right? And which, again, like seems like a knock, but all the things that seem like a knock are actually what make this such an amazing opportunity. So, I guess if I could summarize that, I would just say it's that, if I'm looking for a new business as an entrepreneur, this would be it: high margin and high demand. Like I couldn't ask for a better with a market leader, no less. So you couldn't ask for anything better, and that's the way I look at it. And for all those reasons that I've just given you, Craig and I decided to team up to help you catch that Infusionsoft wave with a new series of courses. So having given you a little bit of an overview of the market opportunity, I want to talk to you now quickly about the course that Craig and I have put together for you. We're both really, really excited about. And that is the Infusionsoft Specialist Level 1 course. So I obviously am going to be teaching it, and I have built this course from the ground up just for you. And I'll tell you who it is going to be for. In this first level 1 is going to be a fit for you if you are completely new to Infusionsoft. You've really never even been in the app before. That's okay. If you've just dabbled in the app, you've been in there, you've done a few things, you've poked around, that will be perfect. All the way up to what I would call advanced beginner. I started when I did this slide. I originally had intermediate on here too, because I know that most intermediate Infusionsoft users would learn a good deal from this class. But if I'm talking about best fit, then it's probably that from straight newbie to advanced beginner. Okay, so that's who I've designed it for. Now, talking about what we're going to cover, I can run through each day here for you really quickly just to give you a sense. But let me just preview it for you before I do that. Because if you are not a user yet, I'm not sure how much these day by day, blow by blow accounts are going to mean to you. But really, I sat down with a couple of people and who are using the app for clients every single day, including my own folks, my assistant, and we said, all right, let's think back to when we were first getting started with Infusionsoft and imagine, right, if we could have anything we wanted in terms of how to learn this app using the 80/20 rule, which I am, if you work with me, I am I use that, I talk about it all the time. So what is the 20% of effort that can get us 80% of the result? And so what is that 80/20? What's that 20% that we can teach in this level 1 course that is going to allow someone to get the biggest bang for their buck? That's going to allow them to go out and be confident enough in the app and proficient enough that they can actually sell services, even if they are not yet what we would call an expert, but and do it in such a way that it's not totally overwhelming and that we don't leave big gaping holes in your knowledge. And so this is what we eventually came up with. It is by design, I would say, wide and not very deep, because this is really more of a survey course, or that 20% that's going to get you 80% of the result. And then the more advanced courses that we are hoping to come out with later, those will do the really deep dives into specific areas of the app that you might want to really become expert in, or which might really pique your interest. But for right now, if someone comes to you, we want you to be confident and competent in that app, and that's what Specialist Level 1 is designed to do. So day 1 is really an introduction to Infusionsoft. One of the things we realized is, what? Like, of the weirdest things is if someone would have just explained all the terms that we use in Infusionsoft, that alone would have been really helpful. I'm also going to attack this sort of in the way that you would naturally begin to navigate the app, and in the sequence that you would probably need to do things in, as best as I can. So I'm going to give you an introduction on day 1. Then day 2, we're going to talk about setting up the app for the first time, because obviously if you've got a new client who's new to Infusionsoft, or very often what we find is we get hired to go into an app, but it's only partially set up. So this would be the first thing that you would do, is getting this app set up. By app, I mean that's what we call an Infusionsoft. Each client has their own app. Okay, see, there's that terminology thing that I was telling you about. So getting that the client's app set up properly and how to do that. Then day 3, we're going to dig into the e-commerce platform. The e-commerce platform is actually going to take up 2 days. So we're going to look at things like the shopping cart and merchant accounts and sales tax and billing automation on the first day. And then in the second day, we're going to talk about things like products and subscriptions and payment plans, because here's what we're trying to do. We're really trying to compress your learning curve into a really small period of time. The sorts of things that typically would take someone hundreds of hours flailing around in the app and going and asking questions in the forums and reading the user guide. We're trying to pack that into a fraction of that time. And so it's going to be really hit the highlights, but make sure that you've got those really important pieces. So day 5, we're going to do a day on something called tags in Infusionsoft. If you use Infusionsoft, you know what that is. If you don't, it is one of the fundamental ways that we use to segment customers within Infusionsoft. It's integral to the functioning, the proper functioning of the app. If you don't get it set up right to begin with, you can not only are you not going to be able to build the most effective campaigns for your clients, but you could also make the app crawl, be very slow. So we'll spend a day on that. Day 6, we'll talk about all the reports that are available in Infusionsoft, because of course you'll need to be able to talk confidently about those to your clients, as well as just do a very quick dive into opportunities and what they are and when you would use them, so you can be confident with those. Day 7, we're going to talk about broadcasts, email broadcasts in particular, but also voice, mail, and fax broadcasts. We're also going to show you how you would set up the dashboard for your client and what all the potential is there. Day 8, we're going to get into Campaign Builder, which is my favorite. So this is really where the marketing automation piece comes into play, is Campaign Builder. This is the thing that really, this is what makes Infusionsoft unique. It is a way to draw out on a canvas, basically visually, a funnel, and then add all the pieces that you want to that funnel and hit go, and off it goes. So we'll talk about we'll go into Campaign Builder, including our 3-step process for building campaigns quickly. And I know there is at least one, maybe 2 or 3 people on this call who have been through some of my other courses, who will tell you that that alone is one of the biggest time savers and eye openers, because I teach people to do it the opposite from what is most intuitive. And most people just have one of those V8 moments when I show it to them, where they just want to hit themselves on the head and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been doing it backwards all this time. As well as the most important Campaign Builder do's and don'ts. And then the last day, day 9, we're actually going to build your first campaign. Now, one of the things I want to tell you about this as we go through it. So the format is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to meet from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time on GoToWebinar, and you can see that we're doing it for 3 weeks, and that I want you to notice that we do have to skip a week between week 2 and 3 because of some scheduling constraints that I have. But here's what we're going to do. And this is really important. I am such a believer on hands-on learning, especially when you're at that new learner stage. So what we're going to do is, on the first day, I am going to show you how to get from Infusionsoft a free sandbox app. So it is a fully functioning version of Infusionsoft. It does have some limitations on it, like you can only send so many emails. They put a few things on there just to make sure that you don't use it to run your company. They want you to buy the app if you're going to do that. But it is a fully functioning version that was created so that developers could test things as they were building them. And what we're going to do with that sandbox app is, after each class, or at the end of each class, I'm going to give you assignments. Now, they're not going to be horrible, difficult, or time-consuming assignments, but what I want to do is I want to make sure that whatever concepts we talk about in each class, that you then go away and cement those by actually doing. Because if all you do is watch, you will lose it very quickly. But if you immediately then turn around and complete the practice assignment in your own sandbox app, it will become much more natural and ingrained, and it will also allow you to come back the following day with much better questions, because you will have practical experience with it, and you can say, hey, I tried to do this and this and I ran into that, and which you can't do if you're not practicing as we go. Okay, so that sandbox app and those practice assignments are really, really important. Okay, so that is going to be our format. We're going to talk about the tuition, which is so, well, when I do this, it's $497. However, Craig, he's always advocating for you guys. Well, let me just say something about this $497 before I give you the punchline. So if you complete this course, right, you should be able to take on basic Infusionsoft work at between, I would say, $35 and $50 an hour. And as you become more skilled, that rate will go up. So, if you just set up one new app and a simple marketing funnel for a single client, then you should be able to pay that $497, not to mention any affiliate commissions and referral fees. But Craig, he's looking out for you guys, and so he convinced me that we needed to give a special deal to VA Classroom members. So that's what we're going to do. So for you guys only, we are going to knock $100 off of that price. I believe Craig has a discount code for you, IS Level 1. And when you use that discount code, that will knock the price down to $397 for this group only. All right, so there's your tuition.
Kim,
yeah.
I just want to jump in, and if you flip back to that for a second. First of all, just to preface this, as I mentioned on the outset, I have been looking for the right type of Infusionsoft training partner for a long time. And there are other programs out there, but I have never seen anything like what Kim offers. And as you probably can see just from hearing her speak for a few moments, that this program will provide you exactly what you need to get started with Infusionsoft. And the cool thing is, Kim, next week I get to head to this mastermind group that I go to once a year. There's about 60 people in the group. I would say 80% of them use Infusionsoft. Except for me. Not to say that I won't join, but there's about 80%, and often I help these people find virtual assistants and specialists. And I mentioned to one of them, she was asking if I had anyone that could support her in her Infusionsoft with a lot of the things you just mentioned. And I said, I'm starting this program that I'm going to actually present. I'm going to introduce what I've been doing at this mastermind and tell you about this kind of wave of people that are going to be trained on Infusionsoft at level 1 and level 2 and so on and so forth. And so she was really excited about that because I know she is just like every other entrepreneur, very busy, very overwrought with a lot of things, and needs someone to come in there and really help her develop all the marketing automation that she needs for her business. So that's why the timing is perfect. And in terms of pricing, Infusionsoft, as Kim says, allows you to just bill out at a higher rate. It allows you to have higher level packages. It positions you in an area where there's so much demand. And we've had a number of RFPs go through our community because we get project requests all the time, Kim. And we're Infusionsoft, and we've seen a lot of them where the entrepreneur said, I didn't get many requests back, or we end up referring to the same 2 or 3 people we know that know Infusionsoft. So the opportunities are there. It's just the time is now to pursue it. And that's why we wanted to make sure, as I talked to Kim, that this is a course that we are running through VA Classroom. So it's a VA Classroom program where there'll be a VA Classroom certification of completion. And we also wanted to offer it at a discounted rate so that we make it as affordable. And that there's also 1 and 2 pay options. And we'll share that link with you in a moment shortly so you can check out further about the program. But I just want to jump in, Kim, and say how excited I am that we are finally kind of, I would say, introducing an Infusionsoft training hub right within VA Classroom, which I think, with where we're positioned, obviously being the strongest VA training network online and being able to bring you in, it's just, the timing's real perfect.
Yeah, let me take off from that, Craig. I'm going to take some questions here in a minute. So if you have questions for me or for Craig, now's the time to start putting those in the chat or the question box. And then I've got some closing remarks as well after we finish up with the questions. But, it's really interesting that you say that because, one of the things that I didn't say is, I don't know if everyone on this call knows this, but it's no coincidence, just like you said about your mastermind group, it is no coincidence that if you look at every leader, and guru and best-selling author, those people who are really hugely successful, probably 90% of them are using Infusionsoft, and there's a reason. And for them, it's they tend to be on the cutting edge in terms of what's going to grow their own businesses, obviously. But I think the biggest thing is that it creates leverage for them. It allows them to build these empires, if you will, with just a couple of people. Where back in the day, so back in my investment days when I was running Snyder Advisors, Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, for example, were good friends of mine, and we appeared on stage very often. And their empire back, before that, they had a, maybe still do, a huge building in Scottsdale with a cast of thousands that were required to run that quote empire. And today, because of this marketing automation that's available, that leverage is just, if that's what you're after, those folks, they have to have it. And so they're the market leaders, they're the folks who are out there trying new things before everything else. And of course they have huge audiences, which they promote, they talk to. Those audiences know that they're using Infusionsoft as well. And so, I mean, not that we have to follow those people necessarily, but just like I believe in following the smart money, which is Goldman Sachs and Bain Capital, in the real world, probably more people will follow Frank Kern and Marie Smith than would then care about which investment firm is investing in Infusionsoft. So, but they're both barometers, I think, of what's happening here. And my experience is exactly like yours, Craig. People come to us all the time because we don't do this sort of work. My firm does development. We write code. We make Infusionsoft do what it won't. We don't do work with like native Infusionsoft functionality. We only teach it. And people are constantly asking us, who can you recommend for us? We can't do this. We don't have time to do this. We need someone who's good. And just like you, we're constantly referring to the same few people, because there's just more demand than there are people to fulfill that demand. And just to be straight honest with everybody, there are a lot more people out there in this space that we wouldn't refer to than we would. And my aim in this class is to build it in such a way that you all are a crop of folks that Craig or I could go out there and confidently refer, because I know what you're talking about, and I know that the customer or client would be happy, because I know what because I taught you. So anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that, but that experience is just so universal.
Well, it is, Kim, and just it reminds me a few years ago when we did launch. You're talking about social media earlier. When we launched our social media specialist program, this was at a time when social media was just growing, and people were trying to get their head around it in terms of how to use it. And the same thing, there were so many people coming out there with social media services that they are offering. And I realized that as we created our training, that we were training our VAs at a completely different level. That they were developing skills that a lot of entrepreneurs would come to us and say, "I'm looking for someone that's taken that course. I had someone else that did it, and they know their stuff, and I know it applies exactly with you and Infusionsoft." And so what I want to do is I want to take some questions, and then we're going to share the link to you in a moment so you can kind of join us. This program there's going to be you may have the link up there already.
I do. There we go.
To have in the background there. So it is Infusionsoft.com, VAClassroom.com /Infusionsoft-specialist-level 1. You can also, here's a shortened version for you. It's just www.vaclassroom.com, Infusionsoft 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some questions, and I'm also going to put that in the chat so you can just link right to it here in a moment. But lots of questions coming in for you, Kim. And the first one is becoming an Infusionsoft servicer or VA or expert or whatever you might call yourself a workable place to begin my business?
Absolutely.
And this is from Sue.
Yes, Sue. Absolutely, it is. That's what I did. So I was retired. I moved to South Carolina, built a farm, and planned to never work again until I found Infusionsoft, and then I got so excited about it. And I started from exactly where you are in 2011. I knew nothing about Infusionsoft whatsoever, other than the demo that I watched on their website, and I built my business around it. You can too.
Sue was also wondering, in terms of what industries, make sure I get her question correct, what certain types of industries tend to need and use IS? You've already mentioned a few, and even mentioned some high-level sort of internet entrepreneurs, but first of all, what types of industries, and then what size of business is Infusionsoft ideal for?
Great. Yes. So it's really one of the fun parts about working with Infusionsoft clients is that the range of businesses who use Infusionsoft spans the entire spectrum of small businesses. So you see everything from collision repair shops, florists, insurance companies, realtors, retail. You see, you see brick and mortar. You see folks who are in the digital space. So lots and lots of infopreneurs and authors and coaches, lawyers, therapists, almost anyone that you can imagine as a small business is probably in that Infusionsoft mix. And one of the decisions that you will need to make is, do you niche down into one of those specific industries or verticals, or are you willing to take any Infusionsoft user? Some people just work with coaches, some people just work with speakers. I mentioned the collision repair because I've got a gal that just works with collision repair shops. So that's up to you how you decide to structure your business, niche or not, but it's a wide gamut. Now, in terms of Infusionsoft's ideal customer, Infusionsoft defines their ideal customer as not a startup, typically someone who already has somewhere between 500,000 and a few million in revenue, is already spending money on marketing and is somewhat savvy, about marketing. And the nice thing about that as an ideal client for Infusionsoft is, if you just listen to that, that's a pretty darn good definition of an ideal client for me. So it's they typically don't sell to really small businesses, and then once you get beyond a certain size, 5 million or so in revenue, it's really more about the number of contacts in the application. But 5 million or so in revenue, and you're probably starting to think about migrating up to a different app.
And that's what I like about Infusionsoft is that you talked about kind of brick and mortar companies. I know a lot of our VAs, and not all of you, because I know some of you do work with brick and mortar people, but a lot of you work with coaches, speakers, authors. And a lot of coaches, speakers, and authors do use Infusionsoft. But it's so true, Kim, that there's so many other markets, professional markets, brick and mortar companies that are using Infusionsoft, in addition to the infopreneurs, like the coaches, the speakers, the authors.
It's crazy. The requests I see come across my desk: theaters, camps. It's like, just you name it. If it's a small business, they're probably using Infusionsoft.
And so for those of you, obviously you work with clients anywhere and all over the map, but there may be opportunities right in your back door, right in your neighborhood, in your local area, where you potentially could position yourself as an Infusionsoft professional for those people.
Absolutely.
Other questions. Robin had just asked, Kim or Craig, what if we blaze through this course, this level 1? Will you follow up with the next level course? And I'll just answer that, Kim, and then you can kind of chime in. Is my vision with Infusionsoft, because and you know me from, many of you have known me for a lot of years, and one of the things that I do really well, I have my share of weaknesses, but one of my strengths is being a trend spotter in the marketplace and knowing what are the right skills that you need to know right now that will open up new income opportunities for you with your clients and with new clients. And this is it. This is one of them right here, a big one. There's others, but this is a big one. And so what my vision is that we would become your professional development hub for all things Infusionsoft. That as Infusionsoft grows and develops, that Kim, and if all works out well, Kim would be our go-to expert trainer to help support all the ongoing kind of evolution of Infusionsoft, because it doesn't just stand still as a static solution. There's new things that are added all the time. So that's our vision. So this, to answer your question, Robin, this is just the beginning. Got to start somewhere, and we want it to be we want to create a learning pathway for you, so that it's not initially a bunch of courses all over the place. That there is a level 1 and there is a level 2, and moving you towards becoming an advanced Infusionsoft professional. And this is the starting point. So great question. Anything you would add to that, Kim?
Nope. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Other than just saying I'm all in. So.
Okay. Good. Allison, you'd mentioned about are we going to do this again? You're on vacation from June 25th to the 4th. I know that we're taking a break, which actually falls around Canada Day, and I'm Canadian. Kim's in the States, July 4th. So that tends to be a busy week. So we're taking that week off. So that'll certainly cover, I guess, part of your vacation. We also have recordings available for all these sessions, and also a private Facebook group, correct, Kim? That people are going to be able to continue to ask questions throughout the program.
That's correct.
So there's it'd be great for you to all attend the sessions live. It's a condensed program. We're running it because Infusionsoft has a learning curve. We want you to get kind of injected into Infusionsoft over about 3 weeks. There's going to be the sandbox where you're going to be able to just, after the sessions, jump right into it and be using it. I mean, it's so valuable. That's one of the great assets of this particular program. And then also have access to that ongoing Facebook group if you can't attend every session. And you'll be able to access the Infusionsoft Level 1 right through your VA Classroom Training Center. So it'll be right available for you there as well. So great questions. And so that probably answered your question, Karen. Will the sessions be recorded? For sure. You're going to have, this is going to be on demand as well. You're going to probably want to refer back to these videos time and time again as you're working with your clients. It's going to be an ongoing, indefinite resource for you. Again, I know people are asking about higher levels being offered. This is our starting point, and we want a solid group to join us and to get trained and kind of start the learning pathway as we go and move on to level 1 and level 2. Another question for Pam here says, sorry, I know this is a big wet blanket kind of question. I love that, Pam. But isn't this service just as popular offshore as VA services? And so clients could get their Infusionsoft support on the cheap. I know you can speak to that directly, Kim.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would think, right? But I think that has to do with that barrier to entry. Are there Infusionsoft trained or folks who can work with Infusionsoft overseas? There are, but they are very far and few between, and most of them are not that good because someone's hired them, they've worked in an app one time, and then they hang out a shingle and say that they're Infusionsoft qualified, and people see through that fairly quickly. It's just not, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it seems like the overseas market is still working on the low-hanging fruit, and Infusionsoft is not low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, Greg, and I would concur with that as well. A couple of questions regarding, if you could flip back to the schedule for a moment, Kim.
Sure.
Just so everyone's on the same page. Now, someone was saying that Friday, July 3rd is the holiday, kind of leads into the holiday weekend. We recognize that, and obviously the whole next week is off, and July 3rd may be a tough day for some of you, and I know we have a very international audience, so it'll be a holiday for some and not for others. And so that, again, there'll be recordings available for you to kind of get caught up. And the great thing about that one is that, Janine, is that you have a week off. So it's almost we can have the next week is kind of a catch-up week for those that are on holidays and getting caught up and wanting some more practice time before we dive into the final week. So it could be a win-win for everybody in that regard.
Yep.
All right, so how many, the question was how many Infusionsoft level courses are there? I mean, this is obviously this is a beginning phase, Tim, and if you were to, how many do you think there would be in terms of levels? I mean, there's these foundational courses, and then obviously there's advanced sort of boutique sort of courses as well. But what would be your thoughts on that?
Yep. So I don't have a definitive answer for you, but I believe there could be as many as 6 courses, because what I think is that in my mind, there's clearly level 1, 2, and 3, where you are competent, you are skilled, and then you are expert, and what you know and what you can do in Infusionsoft is different at each one of those levels, as is what you can charge. Okay, so there's at least those 3 classes. But for example, I teach a 9-day course on nothing but Campaign Builder. 9 days on Campaign Builder, right? And the same could be easily done for e-commerce and affiliate and some other areas as well. So yeah, and I could, if people would tolerate it, I could make that Campaign Builder course longer. As some of you know, I could talk about Campaign Builder forever. So yeah, so I mean, I definitely see at least 6 courses, if not more.
Okay. And again, I think as you stressed earlier, Kim, I mean, to take level 1 gets you to a place where you can support clients, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's key, is that we want you to make, if you're going to make this investment, we want you to have a return on it. We want you to land clients that way, and then ultimately being able to support you in future levels as well as you develop your skills.
Right.
So lots of questions coming in. How long do we have access to the sandbox to practice and try things out? Paula was asking.
Indefinitely.
Indefinitely. So the bottom line is they just don't give you access to, like, you can't send out a lot of emails and and start building this big list through your sandbox. It's just for developers for the purpose of practicing and testing.
Exactly.
Okay,
yep. But
perfect.
As long as you want to go in there, we have sandboxes. I am an Infusionsoft user myself. I run my own company on it. I heat my own cooking, and but there are times when you want to try something and you don't want to goober up your own app, so you go in your sandbox app and try it out. And once you know what it's going to look like and that it's not going to mess something up, then you go back to your own app and recreate it. So that's what they're there for. They're very useful, and you will have use of it for as long as you want.
And that's a big thing, and I know we've talked about this with other courses, is that there's this whole confidence factor. You get trained through VA Classroom, and I know that we offer great courses. We're known for offering great courses, but then you've got to be able to take it, apply it, and offer it as a service, to your clients. And so, one of the big, I think having access to that sandbox is where the confidence comes in, where you say, listen, I haven't done this for clients. Well, you may have been working in the sandbox and just practicing, and through that, things start to click, and you ask questions in the Facebook group, and pretty soon more things click, and your confidence level rises. And so that's our vision, is that you're going to get out there and confidently say, I know more about Infusionsoft than the clients I'm working with, and I'm going to position myself as their expert and really support them, effectively.
Yep.
So yeah, great questions coming in. Someone just said, very interested in registering for this class. I work full time and I can't be online for the times given. Will it be recorded? And again, I just wanted to reinforce that it is. And Shalonda, you'll also have access to, again, the Facebook group. So there'll be lots of interaction going on, even if you can't have that full real-time experience. And we do that with all our courses, especially our new live courses. We have multiple touch points for you to stay engaged and a part of the learning community.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a comment on that, Craig. The community part of this is so important because it's a little, I forget the name of the law, but if it has to do with networking, right? If there's only one fax machine in the world, the fax machine's not that useful. But the more people who have fax machines, back to my analogy, or not, or email or whatever, then the more useful that becomes. And the same is true of Infusionsoft expertise within the VA community. The more of you there are, and that we can link together in the community, the cumulative effect is that the sum is greater. The sum of the parts is greater. Well, you know what I'm trying to say, right? So your combined ability to lean on each other and ask one another questions is magnified by the number of people we put through this program, and that we can get to participate in that community. So that's really important.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as you look at, opportunities beyond the course, like, in terms of income opportunities, obviously we've talked about different markets that you can tap into. And, but the other thing is, if you're just starting off, let's say you're even new in your VA business and you want to specialize in Infusionsoft, there's, I know a lot of the VA agencies out there, or the owners of multi-VA firms, and they're always looking for people that have Infusionsoft skills, because it is in short supply, as Kim said. And so, that might be a starting point for you. And obviously there may be just a plethora of other client opportunities as well. But it just speaks to, again, the demand, because a lot of those multi-VA firms, they've got lots of clients. They're very much aware of where the demand is, and Infusionsoft is one of the greater demands right now. So other questions coming in. Jamie just asked, is it better to charge per hour or per task block when offering Infusion services? So, in other words, packaging or billing by hour?
Wow. So I do a whole webinar on that, and I'll tell you, it's a challenge. So, on the one hand, so I'm going to like argue both sides of it for you. On the one hand, I am a big believer in charging based on the value that you provide and not trading time for money. Because as long as you are charging an hourly rate, then it's very hard for you to increase your earning potential, because you've only got a finite number of hours, right? So that's the argument for creating packages and retainers and all of the pricing models that get you away from hourly pricing. On the other hand, I will say that in my experience, I keep ending up going back to that hourly pricing model, because in many ways it's just the cleanest, especially with Infusionsoft, where the client very often doesn't know what they want. And so it's so fuzzy, that that a lot of times we'll just do it on an hourly basis. The ultimate decision is yours. One of the beauties of Infusionsoft is that, well, I may not be able to manufacture more hours in the day, but if I can double my rate now, then that's essentially equal to doubling the number of hours I have available to sell. So I can't give you the definitive answer. I would say in theory it's better to package or price on value, but very often I find it easier to just charge by the hour.
Yeah, and I think if you go to this page here, we have my partner Paul's put up a little bit of a matrix there for you to look at average hourly rates that Infusionsoft specialists, if you were to position yourself as that, what you could charge. And Kim, you'd mentioned it earlier as well. I mean, it starts at 35 to 50 for beginner support services up to, I mean, we're moving towards the $100 an hour mark, correct?
Or north of that. Yeah, there are people doing Infusionsoft, not coding, just Infusionsoft high level, very high level, like campaigns that look like spaghetti. And there's very few of those people, so those people are getting $150 an hour.
Mm. Kim, you had mentioned, going back to that slide you had on the secret checklist, I don't know if there was something you wanted to kind of
There was.
speak to
There was. I just wanted to just say that I do plan to give you all our 68-point secret checklist on how to set up an app properly and correctly. So that is something that we don't release to the public, but you're going to get it as just for signing up for this class. So that was kind of the last thing I was going to say before we got to the registration link.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure we didn't miss that.
Yep.
I was kind of, you caught my eye with the top secret, so I was kind of like, what's behind the folder there? Another question here, just regarding when the second level would be offered, month next year. Pam just says, I'm hesitant to dive into entry-level courses without knowing when the others will come along. And Pam, we just, I have a sense we're going to get a lot of interest out of this new first program. And, based on that interest, obviously that is going to determine, our next levels. Okay. So, so I guess that's a very vague answer to say, you know what, I highly encourage you all to join this first group. A number of years ago, there were some of you, I talked about my social media course, many of you went on to build, there was a number of you that went on to build full-time businesses and then hiring people, multi-VA businesses, supporting people in social media and internet marketing. And I remember that first group, and I look at that first group of graduates and to see what they've done. I mean, they become thought leaders in that space. They've become social media consultants and all sorts of things. And I feel the same way about this course here, that join the first group, get plugged in at the ground level, join one of the best trainers on the web when it comes to Infusionsoft, and take the opportunity now because it's there. And so from there, so as we see the demand for level one, we will add level two. And this is important for us. I mean, we want to create a full service Infusionsoft training hub. So that will, so I wouldn't say a year, I would say, shortly after this course, as Kim's schedule and my schedule permits, we will be looking at continuing to develop your skills in Infusionsoft. So how's that for a vague, semi-vague answer? If it doesn't satisfy you, you can add a follow-up. Okay, just starting out, comment from Jamie here, just starting out, you'll be slower than an Infusionsoft expert. So how do you address that with clients? I mean, people like speed, et cetera, and most people, new people, won't have that. Any thoughts on that, Kim?
Yes, that's why your rate's lower. That's okay. Exactly why you're pricing that way. And as you become better and faster, you have to raise your rates. Otherwise, you're being penalized for having more expertise. Because if you're charging by the hour, and if I'm still charging $35 an hour as I become faster and more knowledgeable, then suddenly I'm making less money. And so the way you get compensated for that expertise and that speed and all the other things that you bring to the table now is by raising your rates.
Mm. So it's a progression, and some of you know this from being in other spaces. I know some of you are online business managers, and you may have taken a course through Tina. I lost her name. Tina Forsythe. Years ago, and initially maybe what you charged then and what you charge now. I mean, now you might have a base retainer rate plus a percentage of their profits. So there is that progression, as Kim said, that will take as you develop your skills, for sure. The other question was, how long will the discount be available? The program, we have a short registration period. It'll be open until the program. So I think Sunday night at midnight, it's open till Monday, so you have some time to decide. That discount is only available for this first program. So, and that's not, me, I'm not a sales guy. I'm not going to give you some gimmicky, buy now buy, this is the fire sale sort of thing. But the reality is Kim's made this available for for this particular program, and that's what we're offering it for. So that's available till the program starts on Monday, and so I'd encourage you to definitely take a serious look at this offer and make a decision and look at it as look at the future opportunity, look at the bigger kind of grander vision that you might have for your business, and even the income goals that you have for your business, and say, will this program help me accomplish that? And for you, many of you, it might be a yes, and for some of you, it might be a maybe, and a maybe later, and that's fine. But I don't want you to miss out on an opportunity to really take your business to real new heights this year and for many years beyond that. Okay, so we're coming we're beyond the top of our hour, and I want to, and I see people, great, thanks, Jan. I see others have already signed up, which is excellent. And I encourage you to do that. Having access to someone like Kim, believe me, I'm so excited through the connections we had, Kim, that we were able to get connected, because I'm so excited that my group will have access to you, and and the other question was, will they be certified? And my answer to that is, I've gone down the certification road in the past with VA Classroom, and the certification road is a big discussion, because we run in 40 different countries. So we have training people all over the world, and they all have different education governing bodies. And so what we've often done is we just call it a certificate of completion. So if you've completed the videos and the exercises and all those things, we have a certificate of completion. We're not giving you an A or a B or a C. We want you to just develop your skills like crazy. Have that certificate of completion as a endorsement that you've done the training. I mean, and that you have been developing your skills, and especially as you get level 1 and level 2 and level 3, you can showcase that to clients and say, hey, now I'm feeling confident that I can rock it out in the campaign builder tool, which before I just dabbled in, and I did some basic stuff, and now I can really, from a marketing automation standpoint, I can do so much more. And these certificate of completions kind of reinforce that. They reinforce your skill development, which is exactly why we put them in place. So can you put them on your website? For sure. You can put them on your social media page, wherever you want, and that will showcase all the good things you're learning.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Kim?
I do. I would ask everyone to just hang around for just 2 or 3 more minutes for a couple final thoughts that I think you'll find useful. But I just want to make one more comment on that, if I could, without patting ourselves on the back too much. But one of the things I want to make sure that you know is that basically what Craig and I have in common are really strong brands. And so in the VA world, VA Classroom is recognized as being for excellence. So when you say to someone, I have taken this class from VA Classroom, that means a lot. In the Infusionsoft world, I have a big brand. And so when you go to someone and say, I took a class from Kim Snyder and the API guys, it's not like people go, who? And so on both fronts, you've got like a double whammy there. It's as strong, without having some sort of Infusionsoft certifying you, which they won't do. It's about as strong a brand recognition, I think, as you could possibly get in this particular space. So with that, I want to just ask you a couple of questions and leave you with a couple of parting thoughts. So this is something in Infusionsoft asks me. I've done, I think, 6 presentations for Infusionsoft partners on behalf of Infusionsoft about building businesses in their Biz Booster series. And one of the things that I always talk about is something that I think is a crucial question for every business owner, you, me, everybody. And that is understanding how much an hour of your time is worth, because it is the crux of almost every decision that you will make as a business owner. So the way that I explain this is that an hour of your time is worth the profit you generate in an hour, plus the opportunity cost of not doing a higher value activity. So for example, if I'm spending an hour on a menial task that could be done by Infusionsoft, for example, right? Well, not only is it the profit that I generate in that hour, but what what is the lost profit that I could have been generating had I been doing something of higher value to my firm. And that is what an hour of your time is worth. Now, I will tell you, just as a hint, most people underestimate this number, but I want you to just take I know we've gone over, so I want you to take a very quick moment and just in your head see what do you think that number is for you. And because we're going to use it here in just a second. What do you think an hour of your time is worth? Okay, that's our starting point. I would encourage you at some point to actually go calculate that number as best as you can. But I will tell you that, $50 an hour is probably a super lowball, reasonable estimate of an hour of someone's time. All right, so now here's the question. How long is it going to take you to learn Infusionsoft on your own? Okay, now I'm not just going through this exercise to sell you on our course, by the way. This is also a key business exercise for you. So it serves two purposes at the same time. Now, I learned Infusionsoft on my own. I'm a really fast learner. I would say that to learn what was in our course, it took me a minimum 200 hours. Okay, so if we take 200 hours times your hourly rate, okay, whatever that might be, okay, assuming that your hourly rate is more than $2 or $3 an hour, right? First of all, then that says you're crazy not to take advantage of this course if Infusionsoft is a direction that you want to go. But beyond that, beyond the obvious, right? I make a habit of studying top performers. And one thing all top performers do is look for shortcuts. Back to that 80-20 thing that I was talking about earlier. What is the 20% that gets me 80% of the result? Who can help me get where I want to go? Who's already getting the results that I want to get that I can model? And because Infusionsoft has this steep learning curve, but a huge upside, this is one of those places that you want to find a shortcut, which is why Craig and I designed this level 1 course so that it could be that shortcut. Now, here's the business lesson. In business, this that I just outlined for you is called a build or buy decision, right? Build or buy. Now, in this case, we made this price so crazy low that it makes more sense to buy than build. It's do I do it myself? Do I outsource it? Do I pay an expert or do I spend the time in-house resources? Buy or build question. And that is predicated on knowing what an hour of your time is worth. Then your next question you have to ask is, what is my return on investment? Will I get a return? Well, here's the thing. Your money is a tool. And every single day you send it out with little overalls and a lunch pail. And at the end of the day, it should come home with 4 friends with it. And if it doesn't, then you need to find your money a different job. So I was in the investment business. And when you're looking at an investment, what you're doing is you're always stack ranking your return on investment. Okay, so if you want to make an investment, whether it's in this course or anything else, and you don't have the cash laying around, then here's what you do. You stack rank all the things that you are spending money on by ROI from highest to lowest. You figure out where the ROI of the thing that you want to invest in falls, and then you cut everything below that to pay for the higher ROI item. Right? Now, how your list stack ranks is different for everybody, but that is how you make an investment decision, whether it's for yourself, in your business, what have you. And then finally, we have something called a payback period. Now, it's really great to have a high return on your investment, but how long is it going to take you to get that money back? All right. So those as a business owners, that's the question I'm looking at anytime I need to invest money in something. Okay. Now, here's the great news. The great news is, number 1, there's no need to figure this out on your own because I can help you. Number 2, the return on investment is high. 3, the payback period is really quick, as we've already talked about. And 4, Infusionsoft is definitely a wave that you want to ride. So all you have to do is to jump on that wave, is register today, and I'll see you next week. And that's all I got, Craig.
That's great, Kim. And again, the website is www.vaclassroom.com. The shorter one is / Infusionsoft1, the number one. Or you can go to www.vaclassroom.com / Infusionsoft-specialist-level 1. This is a really great opportunity for you. I'm excited, Kim, to get started next week. And you all have just a few days to kind of make that buying decision. I encourage you to pursue this. I think based on the different opportunities that are available, based on the supply and demand, as Kim was kind of sharing earlier, you position yourself now. It puts you ahead of the curve. And in business, as Kim and I know very well, if you stay ahead of the curve, you win every time. And it's where you start to fall below the curve, and where people are, there's that saturation effect. That's where it starts to get more difficult. And so I think the great thing about being a VA is that you have so many different sort of areas you can specialize in, and your business can constantly reinvent itself and morph into new areas. And I would encourage you that this is by far one of the best areas to move into right now. And I think we're well positioned to support you in all the training needs you have, not only for this program, but in those in the future. So go check out the link. If you have any questions, check with our support team. You know how awesome they are to get back to you and answer any questions that you have. And even if you have questions for Kim, we'll make sure that those get answered. And again, you have until just the weekend here, end of the weekend, to get signed up for this. We start next week, and it's going to be an intensive 3 weeks. But again, we've given you that week off that just kind of worked around holidays for you to kind of get caught up as well, get into the sandbox, get practicing, and come out of the course feeling real confident in what you're offering. So thanks again. I really appreciate your time, Kim, for staying later. I know you have a busy schedule, and I appreciate all the great information that you've shared today.
It has been my pleasure, Craig. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope to see a bunch of you all next week.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.